Welcome to Andrea Lake 101, episode 2. This episode is called Time to Rebuild. It covers quarter one of 2024 to get us up to speed with where we are today. So, when I left you, I had just gotten a letter saying that I was facing an inquiry from the IRS. I think that's super fun. It's what everybody wants to get in the mail, so buckle up. This is a wild ride into the IRS. In the middle of a quarter where I also have to completely get my website redone, hire a new firm to do that, hire on employees for the first time at this new company after I stripped back all of my old employees, and also continue to figure out how to even use the equipment, get new equipment for the stuff that is atrophied. There is just expense after expense after expense. Plus, in addition to that, I need to come up with a whole new marketing plan, re-engage with clients. It is just sort of everything. Everything in this company is broken, but not much more is broken than the website itself, which had started to drop off the second address line. That was always a pre-existing bug that existed in this website, and it would affect maybe 1 out of every 700 or 800 orders. However, very suddenly, it started to affect maybe 1 out of every 10 or 12 orders. That means every 10 or 12 orders would come to us with a website, with a city, state, and zip code not included. So then we would have to reach out to the clients and say something happened and like the city and state didn't pull through. But just everything about the website, it had been built in 2016, and that made it look a million years old. So we knew we had to get it redone. I wanted to go to a different place, and I hired a new web firm and said, hey, I need this on the quick. And I knew these people. I had a pre-existing relationship with the people that owned this company. They use overseas devs and they manage everything for you, and it's not expensive when you do it that way. So there's this adage in business: you can get good, you can get fast, you can get cheap, but you can only get 2 of the 3. And this was in fact not fast. Now, they cut me a smoking deal. It did not hardly cost any money, but remember, I was losing $1,521 a day. So if the website was 3 days late, that was going to cost me $4,500. Well, spoiler alert, the website wasn't 3 days late. The website was almost 3 months late. So I had started engaging with them in December, and the original launch date for the website was January 16th. So that's what's going on as I start into this month. I know that I'm getting a new website built. I'm putting some attention towards that. We had done the wireframes out. I was under the understanding that this was all being furiously coded and would be done very, very soon. And then I knew also that it was time to hire employees. I knew that I needed help with production, so somebody to sort of step into the role of doing customer service, in-house, doing production, and I knew that I needed an additional graphic designer. Now, I had been doing contract work, graphic design with my brother for years and years and years and years. He's been ancillarily involved in the company doing all of the graphic design work that needs to get done. He doesn't work in the office, he works from home and is a super insanely talented artist. David, shout out David, he also is the person that originally came up with the StickerJunkie monkey logo. There's a funny story with that, which I will tell at another time, in 1999. But I also knew I needed another graphic designer, and I knew that I was going to be re-engaging with Hot Topic. Because remember, on this journey of rebuilding these 14 companies and rolling them out and selling them, I'm actually rolling out 2 at a time. So we've talked a lot about StickerJunkie. We'll continue to talk a lot about StickerJunkie because that's the very first company that I was going in to save and to rebuild. However, for years and years and years and years, I sold a very lot of t-shirts, millions, tens and tens and tens of millions of t-shirts to chain stores across the US, Europe, and Australia, and Canada. And that company was called Delinquent Distribution. I owned that company since 1999. And there were a couple of different things that I did in that company. We created original slogan designs, such sweet gems as, I'm bad with names. Can I just call you dumbass? Yeah. And losing faith in humanity, one person at a time, etc. So I had reached back out to Hot Topic and they said, yeah, Andrea, we have been talking about you all the time because we're reaching back out to some of our vendors from the early 2000s. Do you still own the rights on those slogans? And I was like, yeah, I do. And Hot Topic and I cut a deal where they would start carrying my t-shirts again and also stickers. So, as I was hiring in new employees, I knew I wanted profoundly talented artists who could also create our artwork for Hot Topic. That would be super cute and super current that people would like. And then I would be able to pay those artists a license on their artwork to be able to use it with my distribution company. I pay like 7.5 to 10%, depending on the type of item it is, and depending on artist that I'm working with, the store I'm selling to, how much margin there is, etc. So it's really generous. A lot of my competitors only pay $200 or $300 total for a slogan when they might go on to sell $100,000 worth of that t-shirt. So I think that, artists should get paid. I always say lovingly, people that don't pay artists are dickheads, and I'm not a dickhead. So I do like to pay artists commission on their work because it's actually their work. And I knew I wanted to find that. And I also knew I had to get my books in order for the IRS. So those are the 3 things that are happening in January. 4 things. I'm hiring new employees. I have to get my books in order for the IRS and actually go sit at the IRS. I have hired on a new team to build the website, and I also need to continue to figure out how to do production, etc. in the company, and really roll out a whole new marketing campaign and engage with new clients. So we're going to break this down one at a time and talk about what happened in each one of those areas. Let's start with the IRS because it is a wild story. I had every reaction that you would imagine a person would have. Was told I had to come sit at the IRS offices in San Diego for a formal inquiry. I was told that the IRS had come by my offices and thought that we perhaps had abandoned ship, but actually we were just out of town for Christmas. So it totally freaked me out and spooked me that the IRS officer had come to the office. Also, I was like, holy shit, I actually didn't know that they came in person. I didn't know that that was a thing. I thought they only would contact you by mail first, but and I wouldn't have believed him that he was an IRS officer. As a matter of fact, when I got the notifications from the IRS, I got a couple of them, some to StickerJunkie, some to me personally, because they had to see if there was personal culpability in the fact that the taxes were behind for that business that I own. Yeah, I hadn't gotten that yet at the time that they actually came to the office, and we just happened to not be at the office, which is wild because we were there 24 hours a day. So as I'm prepping for this stuff, I'm talking to my coach, Lisa Warninger. I continued to prioritize getting coaching sessions every week just to sort my way through all of the emotions, all of the feelings, and also strategize because Lisa is a rare combination of she herself was an incredibly successful entrepreneur in Portland and owned a big photography firm that did the photography for like Salt and Straw and Bar 3 and Nike, New Balance, like all of the cooler Portland brands, and then sold that business and became a coach. And so every week I'm strategizing with her. I'm thinking through the different things that I'm going to do and also just managing all the emotions that come up with like, fuck, I just failed so hard in my life. I already had retired. I already was living the dream. And now I have to go back and rebuild companies that I started when I was 23 years old. Like, hello, thank you. It's my own personal Eras tour. Thank you, Taylor, because I really am rebuilding these companies, Andrea's version, of all these companies I started. I mean, when I was a kid, when I did not know what I was doing, I started my first company when I was 18 years old, Rhythm Sticks, and we will be bringing that company back because they are so cool. And even still to this day, they're those toys that you hold one in each hand and you throw around the center stick with the 2 sticks that you're holding. And I used to do those on fire at concerts and raves when I was like 18, 19 years old. And I got to throw fire with Jane's Addiction. That was the biggest show that I ever got to throw. I really wanted to tour with them, but back then, sort of all those types of performers were contracted through Jim Rose's Sideshow Circus that would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I never even tried out because my clothing company was starting to do well and my Rhythm Sticks company was starting to do well. So I couldn't like travel and be a traveling professional fire dancer, but I would get hired to go just to individual, which I wanted to do because when Porno for Pyros came out, they did contract, I believe it was with Jim Rose's Sideshow Circus and had traveling fire dancers with them. And I was like, oh my God, what I wouldn't give to travel with porno for pyros and throw fire, but that was not in my future. I just only got to throw with them one time at the Enid Festival. And so it was actually right between Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros. So it was incredible and amazing. And Stephen Perkins was on drums and Tom Waits was on bass. Then I don't remember, maybe John Frusciante on guitar and Perry Farrell was singing, and it was incredible. And I digress. So as I go back into this company and I'm getting this IRS inquiry, I have to get all of my books together, and I am working with Lisa and working my way through the emotions of it because I was scared. I was terrified. I had to go answer all these questions and the types of taxes I was behind on. I didn't realize it was as big of a deal as it was because they sent me a couple notices and they're like, oh, hey, you owed this much. And if you don't pay it, it's going to accrue X amount of interest per month. Well, I'm a quantitative trader and it was a very low amount of interest that it was going to accrue to like pay it 2 or 3 months later. It would be like, whatever, like 0.25% interest a month, so that's when you compound it through the years, like 5.5% a year, which is really, really inexpensive money. Anybody that has credit card debt knows that you are getting charged anywhere between 12% and 29.99% on your money through a credit card. So if I owed some amount of dollars to the IRS and a lot, like 80 grand, and I couldn't pay it right now, I was only going to have to pay like 1/4% on the money. So I just kept letting it ride. And I was like, okay, when the company turns around, I will very, very, very first thing prioritize paying these taxes back. But I had to go sit down and I knew that I had to explain that to the IRS officer. And I knew that I had to be honest. And I knew that I had to be like logical and kind of lighthearted and just really explain it to him just the way that I explained it to you. And that can seem hard to do. So I just kept reminding myself, like, this is just a conversation with another person. And I'm on one of my coaching calls with Lisa before I go down to the IRS, like the weekend, before 2 weekends before I'm supposed to go down there and sit for the meeting in January. And she's like, you create your own reality, which I do believe that I create my own reality. I am a big fan of Esther Hicks, and I think there's a misconception with the law of attraction that I would love to dispel, which is that you just sit there and wish for something and then it comes. The action and massive action and inspired action is a really big part of it. So as I was diving in, I just knew that if I kept going and I kept grinding and I kept just giving my best every single day, at some point, really magical stuff would come my way. So after 3 months of doing this and being like, there has to be something good around the corner, there has to be something good around the corner, that's when that fucking notice came from the IRS. And I was like, seriously? I am giving my best every day. I am like crying on the floor of the office. I don't even have time to cry. I literally would set a timer if I started to cry during all of this for like 5 minutes or 7 minutes and 7 seconds or some magical little number. And then I would cry for that amount of time and then I would just go work and just go do whatever had to get done. It didn't matter if I felt like doing it or not. So I'm on the phone on this coaching call on Saturday with Lisa, which is when I do my calls with her, even still now. And I'm just pissed in that moment. And she's like, this is only a problem if you make it a problem. And I go, Lisa, are you fucking kidding me? And we've known each other for years. We're very good friends. So she knows that I wasn't saying it directly to her, but I'm like, it is a problem. It is a problem, girl. I have to spend all this time that I should be spending going out and acquiring new clients or making sure that the website is getting done on time or training these new employees that we just hired in. And now I have to sit here and organize my books, which I do need to do anyway, but I don't really have to have that done until September. And right now I need to be knocking on doors and talking to people and getting them in here. But the compliance is so far behind that I must do this because I cannot go in unprepared to the Department of the Treasury. You want to have your shit to fucking gather when you go sit for the IRS. So she just says really calmly, well, it can be a problem if you want it to be. And as someone who has been listening to Esther Hicks for going on 20 years and really, really understands that the one thing that we can control, the one thing that is ours in any situation is our perception of that situation and our response to that situation. That's it. I could have gone into the IRS peeing my pants and scared or angry or hostile or defensive or any number of emotions. And that would not have served me very well. I wanted to go in there and remember, like, this is just some dude. This is a guy, a smart guy, a professional guy who works for the IRS, and his job is to clear cases off of his desk. And he does that in one of two ways. He works with you to come up with a plan that is good, or if you have done something intentionally bad, he kicks you over to a division where bad things happen. And either way, that case is out of his hands. That is his job. That's all he's trying to do because he has a stack of them, and I am just one of them. And I'm reminding myself of this. And also, I'm reminding myself I didn't have any negative intent here. I just literally was like, can't pay this month. And it doesn't look like they need it this month. It looks like they're doing fine. It looks like if I send it to them next month or the month after with some interest, that'll be okay. So I'm remembering all of this. Don't make this a problem. Don't make anything a problem. And I started to say something that I've carried with me through the last year. I don't have time for problems. I only have time for solutions. I really only truly do. And as much as I just explained to you guys why the taxes continued to be late, because they're like, do you want to pay this very tiny amount of interest and then you can pay this in 3 months, or do you want to send it today? My answer always was, I will pay this in a month or two, whenever the cash turns around. So armed with that understanding of myself, I go to the IRS building in San Diego, which looks like it could be, I mean, it's one of the most modern, beautiful buildings in San Diego. So it looks like it could be like the headquarters for the good guys in a Marvel superhero movie. And I walk up, and there's an FBI agent at the door because that building also houses the San Diego Federal Courthouse. And there are, I kid you not, 5 security guards, 5 of them. And I had just come in from being in Sedona, and during the holidays, I went to like someone's house and there wasn't a wine opener there. And so I bought myself this portable wine opener because I thought I just love red wine and I will never be in this situation again where I get there and there's a nice bottle of wine and there's no cork opener. And then I also moved a bunch of my items from Sedona to San Diego. I promise this is relevant. And because I was living full time in the warehouse. Now, I did have another house that I could go to. I could go to my friend Jane Forrest's house. I just never did. Brianna and I were sleeping in shifts. We were running the presses 24 hours a day so that we could get tons of promotional stickers printed and keep up with client orders. And we needed more equipment. So we literally would sleep in shifts and work 24 hours a day. So it wasn't like we were living there. It was because we did have other places to go. It was like, it just was more practical to be there because neither one of us wanted to leave the other one alone in the night. And so we would just sleep on a pull-out couch in shifts. And I did decorate it like really nice. Up in there, I got a really, really cool pull-out couch. And I got a really, really cool, that was like a Sonos lamp that could play music. And Brianna had bought all of that for me, which was so lovely of her. So the actual way that the offices looked was pretty vibey and pretty cool. Once Bree had laid down the sticker floors, and every now and again we would take a night and we would just like play backgammon or play cribbage. And the setup was pretty cool for a nighttime vibe. And it's actually some of my most fun memories with Brianna and our whole entire friendship was the nights that like I would go tap her on the shoulder at 3 in the morning and say, okay, it's time for me to take over and do cutting. And then if we had a sheet that would take, 30 minutes to cut, let's say, we would set them up on all the different cutters that we have. We have a lot of different cutters in there and set them all to go. And then we'd be able to play a round of cribbage in between in the interim. So it was, looking back on it and knowing that everything turned out okay, it really was a sweet time. But I was terrified when I went to the IRS that day, and I had just brought a bunch more comfort items like the backgammon set and like my cribbage board to the office so that we could actually like deliberately have some fun while we were there and take times to really nourish our friendship, because we didn't want to fall into a thing where we were just always working and just always talking about work. And there is a little bit of a misconception. Brianna and I are not a couple. I know sometimes people think that we are because she's so amazing and I'm so amazing, but we are not a couple. We are business partners and best friends. Best friends. Like, she's like my sister and I love her. And so I had brought a bunch of stuff from home. And one of the things that I brought from home to San Diego to make our life more comfortable were butcher scissors. A couple pairs of butcher scissors that go in a butcher block, which are a legitimate weapon. And so I walk up to the podium of the FBI in the front of the building where they asks for your ID and they run a little background on you to make sure you're supposed to be there and ask you what your business is being in that building that day. So I hand over my passport and he says, "How are you doing today?" And I had made a decision when I was talking to Lisa about like it can be a problem or not, that my goal that day was to make every person that I interacted with laugh and just to be light and pleasant and lighthearted. But I was fucking terrified. So I walk up, I'm like, "Don't let him ever see you sweat. Don't let him hear your voice shake." And I give him my passport and he goes, "How are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I'm here to see the IRS today. So that's how I'm doing. How is your morning going?" And he kind of chuckled a little and he's like, "Oh, I hope it's okay." And I'm like, fingers fucking crossed. That's what I said to the FBI agent. And he laughed and ushered me inside where there were 5 guys, 5 Gen X guys, like 5 guys my age who are security officers. And there is a little bit of a shorthand from Gen Xers. Like, the reason this podcast is a longer form podcast is because me and my Gen X girlfriends would talk on the phone with each other at night for 5 hours every night of our lives. And we just had thick skin because you had to if you were a Gen Xer. Like, there was no keyboard warriors back then. If you were insulting someone, you were insulting them to their face. And if you were getting insulted, it was to your face. And there was no safety zone. There was no like, that's really bad if you call somebody this word or say the meanest possible thing to someone. Like, it was brutal out there. And then being a female Gen Xer where it was like a whole other world pre-Me Too, where you were, you'd have to on the fly come up with ways to interact with people that were very different than what you would experience now. So when I meet a fellow Gen Xer, we know just how to make each other laugh and to be funny and whatever. It's just like a talent that you had to have if you wanted to be a salesperson growing up in the late 70s and early 80s. And I always was a salesperson. So I get there and there's this guy who's like the lead guy. He's asking for my purse to go through a metal detector. I had forgotten I had to go through a metal detector, and I hadn't forgotten, in fact, that I had brought a bunch of stuff back with me from Sedona. So he goes in and he's looking through my purse on the x-ray. He's like, "There's some weird stuff in here, ma'am." And I was like, "What?" And he pulls out my wine cork, and it was like a nicer wine cork. Amazon.com, but it was like, it was a hefty one and you could score the wine with a little knife in it, like a teeny tiny little pocket knife. And he's like, "Ma'am, this is a weapon and you're going to the IRS." And I was like, "A weapon? What?" And because I was bringing my computer with me and my folders, the bank statements and stuff, I had like a carry-on sized purse, like a large purse, and it had a bunch of stuff in it, a bunch. And I said, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "We're gonna have to take this." And I said, "Wait, that was like, expensive. It was like $35. Can you hang on to it?" And they were like, "Oh my God, you're ridiculous." And so at this point, all of the security guards are coming over. Luckily, there was nobody else in line. So it was completely fine. And I was being very playful and very funny with them and very cute about it. And then he reaches his hand in and pulls out butcher scissors. And all the guys are just in stitches. And I was like, no, I just came back to my place in Sedona and I went to this Christmas party and there was no wine cork and I vowed to never go anywhere again without a wine cork. And then I had just told them that story and they were laughing, and then he pulled out the butcher scissors. Like, no. I also, I own this stiffer company and we have really heavy duty vinyl and sheet material that we have to cut our way through, and we don't have any good scissors. And I think I had maybe a couple pairs of them in there because I had a couple pairs at my house. Oh my God. It is like, it's always the nice ones that you have to look out for. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to go up there." And I don't know. I just said funny things that made him laugh of like how I was going to have to how was I going to get out of there without my weapons now? And then said, the scissors are expensive too. Those are like $35 too. Can you hang on to these? Because I want these when I leave. I don't want to have to buy new ones. And they're like, oh my God, you're so ridiculous. We don't usually do that. But like, yes, we'll hold your stuff for you. And they said, we can't do it. So I think they gave it to like the FBI guy. I don't remember, but they were all in stitches because they're like, who are you? And my dad was a very, very funny guy, a very funny man. So you had to be funny and have good one-liners in my house to survive the kitchen table. And I could never really quite keep up with my dad and my older brother, but I did my best. So I go through security and I have made all of them laugh. Mission accomplished. Then I get upstairs and it's terrifying. There's nobody there. The ceilings are like 100 feet tall. They're not, but they're so tall. They had to be 20, 25 feet tall. And I walk in and down this corridor that looks like it is something from out of Black Mirror. And I take a left and there's this little lobby area where there's nothing there except for one table with a little note on it. And there's a black guy sitting in there. And there's like maybe 5 or 6 chairs. And this dude looks petrified, which understandable, same, but I could visibly see it on him. And he goes, oh, you have to die. He's being very helpful immediately. And he's clearly relieved to see another person. And he goes, oh, you have to dial this number on this paper. I'm like, cool. I have to figure out if there's a bathroom around here first, though. And he goes, oh, yeah, there is. And he's clearly excited to like be helpful. So we have this nice little rapport of 2 terrified people in the IRS. And I go and I find he tells me where it is and I go get it. And then I come back in and what was in that lobby was no reception, no person, just a table with a phone number on it. And he said, you have to call this phone number and a line of doors. And it's all white. And then there was like a little black box next to the door that showed clearly that you had to key card your way in so you couldn't just walk into any of the doors. And it was apparent once you got in there that you would have to swipe your way out also so that people could not escape. This is in a very traditional interrogation room, and we could tell that that's what it was. So I said, I don't know if I thought this or said this, but I'm pretty sure I actually said it. He's like, you have to call this number so they know that you're here. And I went and I just laughed and I was like, it's cool. They know I'm here. And it took him a second, but in my head, I'm like, there's cameras everywhere. They know that I'm here. And immediately my cell phone rings and my IRS agent, who I'd spoken with once before, because they personally assign you an IRS agent. Oh, and pro tip, if you ever get a notification like this, call the IRS. They have a line and tell them the agent number to make sure that this is a legitimate notification. I obviously did that immediately. I also called my law firm immediately. I use a very, very, very expensive New York law firm. And they said, you actually don't need us for this. It's going to cost you too much. You need a really, really good CPA firm. And you just need to go negotiate with them. And if you hire us, it's probably going to cost you as much as the bill itself. So I'm like, cool. I've always heard don't go into the IRS without a lawyer. So this is very against all of everything I've ever heard. And so I show up by myself and I'm there and I say to the guy in the lobby, I go, it's okay. We're going to sit down and do our yoga breaths now. And he does. And so I sit, because when the agent calls and I pick up my phone, he says it'll just be a few minutes. He knew I was there. And so we sit and we do yoga breaths together, just some like breathe in, breathe out, whatever. And we did maybe, 3 or 5 or 7 of those. And then I said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. He said, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out well for me. I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's just a conversation with another person, right? That's all it is. You got this. And it was nice because I did not make him laugh, but I could tell that he was soothed a little, as much as he could be in that situation. And I was feeling more soothed. And I knew for sure that once I was sitting in front of the guy, just talking to him and just explaining it to him, that I was going to explain it just as easily as I explained it to you. And so I'm sitting in his office and he says, and he's having me fill out all these things and sign off and all of the stuff that you have to do, the formalities. And he says, well, actually at the IRS, we want to understand why people ever are late on this particular thing. And I said, well, because you sent me these letters. And I showed him the letters. And I'm like, yeah, I trade on compounding returns. This is really, really low interest. This is the cheapest money out there. This is costing me like 4.5%, 5% per year or something once it's compounded together with these 0.25% per month. And it's just really cheap money. And there never seemed to be any sense of urgency around you needing it soon. And he like sat back and kind of chuckled. He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I was like, yeah, that's why. And he was like, do you have the money? And I'm like, I do. And so that made it way easier. It's, there were a lot more formalities. We had to kind of go through my books. You had to make sure that I wasn't lying. And then I walked out of the IRS. And what I knew for sure when I had to go sit for that inquiry, because it was about a month after I got the notification that I had to go down there. What I knew for sure was this is going to be a touch point in my life. I knew that it was going to be one of those things that once I got past it and successfully, whenever anything else hard would come up, I sort of would be able to say, oh, but it's not as hard as it was to go into the IRS. I didn't go into how frightening it was, but I mean, I was meditating every day. I was doing hot yoga. On my weight loss journey, within that, I had lost 20 pounds, and I just was becoming recentered within myself and really trying to mitigate that fear and really trying to say, you get to choose how life goes for you. And you are well on your way to rebuilding the first two of your companies. This is not the time that you get embroiled with something and have to hire lawyers or have to hire in really big firms, or that your attention is going to get diverted that way. You're going to tell them very understandably what happened. You're going to be able to negotiate something if the payment is bigger than what you think that it is, and you are going to be on your way, and nothing like this will ever happen again. And so that's what happened. And when I walked out of the IRS office and to get on the elevator to go down, the quantity of relief that I felt, but not only that, but I was so proud of myself for the way that I handled it, because every time that the anxiety would come up and I knew that this meeting was upcoming and that I had to really have my shit together for it, and that things were still really broken in my companies. When I asked him what would have happened if I didn't have the check, he said, oh yeah, this is an assessment sheet right here. And I was going to take your equipment and sell it for the debt. And I was like, oh, okay, amazing. I'm super glad that didn't happen. So I feel all of this relief sort of lifting off of me as I go downstairs to leave the IRS building. And it's fast. I was only in there for like 10 or 15 minutes. And maybe 15 or 20. And apparently that's much faster than normal, because all of the security guys, there is still no one in the lobby. And there's extra security that day. There was some sort of a very important trial going on in San Diego. And I debated telling this part of the story because I know how it sounds. And I know that the title of my book is You're Gonna Think I'm a Pathological Liar. And I know that this sounds like a big embellishment on the story, but I actually am not joking. So I walked down, all of the security guards are there, and they were like, whoa, that was quick. And I'm like, you got to give me my stuff back really fast, because I had to fight my way out of there with my bare hands. I didn't have my wine cork there to protect me. And they're all in stitches. It's really funny. In walks someone fast and doesn't go through the security line. Goes like, there's this big box in the center of the security line, and you go through the metal detector to the right, and you exit around the opposite way. That would be to the left when you walk in. And this guy goes to the left without going through security, and he's walking really fast, and he walks right past me. And I was like, what the fuck? Was that just Kevin Bacon? Because this dude looked exactly like Kevin Bacon. Now, this could just be a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I seriously doubt that it actually was Kevin Bacon, but he fucking looked exactly like Kevin Bacon. So at some point in the future, I hope to find out if Kevin Bacon actually was ever in the downtown San Diego courthouse and got to skip through security to go to wherever he was going. The most likely case scenario is that there's like an assistant DA or somebody that just happens to look a lot like Kevin Bacon, and he just was able to have some type of privilege and walk in the other way. But wouldn't it be funny if it was Kevin Bacon? So anyway, as I'm driving away from there, I'm like, okay, I know that nothing else from this point right now is going to be this hard. It's just not. I've already done the biggest, scariest thing. I did the biggest, scariest thing in the first place when I had to fucking come out of retirement and go back into this company that I literally had to shut down. It was a big, scary thing when I had bought all that Solana for $10 and $12 and $16 that I had to sell for $19. Like, a few months before it shot up to $200. It was scary to cash out my retirement savings. Every part of this was scary, but nothing was as scary as the IRS, because seeing something did come to me personally that were like, we have to assess if there should be charges with this or excessive penalties. And I was like, what? Nothing is scary in the way of freedom being threatened, or a health scare or something, or, something happening to a family member. But next to that, going to the IRS is It's just underneath that level of scary to me. So as I'm leaving, all of this relief is washing through me, and I'm basically like, okay, let's go. Now we're done with that part and we can just rebuild. And even though I had taken out this really big loan, a lot of it had to go to the IRS or to past due state taxes in multiple different states. And so I actually didn't have that much to work with, especially considering what a fucking massive loss rate I'm dealing with is $1,521 a day. And I'm like counting the days down until the new website gets built, but it is one delay after another. And the person that this company put as the lead just kept pushing meetings over and over and over and over again. My cat is sick. My cat is sick again. I'm traveling again. And we're supposed to have daily meetings, and it got down to 2 meetings a week, and he's just canceling them right and left. No work is getting done on the website. None. We hired them to do the design of the website. They did not do the design of the website. We did the design of the website. It was maddening. The already not having to do that much work, and then they weren't even doing that. And then it was getting later and later and later and later and later. And I am frantic, and I call the CEO of the company like in February when the project is a month late or 3 weeks late or something. And I'm like, dude, I am losing $1,521 a day every day. I need this new website up today. Now, right fucking now. And very stern talks were had, and it still went slow. The website finally ended up getting delivered to us like in March, and there was no reorder function on that. We had spent all of the time and effort on the website to get the customer files, which are all custom files, downloaded into the new platform that we were using. And we kept having problems with the visibility. So people could see that they had placed an order on March 23rd of 2022, but they couldn't see what the sticker was. And I was like, yo, this is non-functional. Like we have to be able to see what people previously ordered. So then that took another fucking month for them to figure out. Literally, it should have taken 2 days. That's how long it should have taken. But we didn't know, and we didn't know how bad they were, and we didn't know how easy it was to find good Shopify developers at the time. And that was the platform that we moved everything over to. And honestly, then I would just get wrapped up in the next thing that I was doing that day, because it was like every piece of every part of that company had to be rebuilt. And we finally had employees. And I will tell you about the hiring of employees and how you negotiate when you have nothing. So I am just at my wit's end. And so finally, they figure out the visibility piece so we can see what people's stickers that they previously ordered on. That was finally March 15th. And the web developer legitimately says to me, okay, are we ready to launch? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? We haven't tested it at all. Like, I haven't even run a single test order. No, we are not ready to launch. That is madness. So then I go in there and we start testing the functionality of the website, and we can't reorder stickers from those previous orders. We can see the stickers, but we cannot click a button and hit reorder. And I was like, the fuck? What? Then it takes them a day or two, and he's like, oh, we didn't know you needed that. And I was like, you didn't know that our customers needed to reorder their stickers? Cool. That was in the wireframe, but like, cool. What the fuck? So that was just another example of a happy accident where I was like really bought in after this whole experience with the IRS of, I don't have time for problems. I only have time for solutions. I don't have time for problems. I only have time for solutions. This website is already over 2 months late at this point, and people cannot reorder on it. And that is horrifying, because that means I absolutely cannot launch, because even though we're only getting a few orders a day, we do not want to lose the last customers that we do have. So I already had conceived of this customized private back page for our clients. I had actually already created some of those for existing clients so that they could share really seamlessly within their entire organization, and anybody within the organization could order. So I had created exactly that. So if it was like a brewery, like we sell to this brewery called Carl Strauss, they're a very popular brewery in San Diego, and they have a lot of people working for them, and they have a lot of very cool artwork on their stickers that they order, and they have several restaurants. I don't remember how many they have right now, but 7 to 12 restaurants, then a main brewery location, plus they distribute. So if somebody goes in there in any part of their corporation and needs to order stickers, they go into the private customized back page, they pick the logo stickers they want, they add it to the cart, and boom, you're done. That's it. That's the whole entire process of reordering. And then they can very easily just go place their order and they are done and they are good to go and they can just check out. When we started to roll these out in a test function, Brianna and I were creating these. We designed them, we coded them within Shopify, and we would send them to our different regular clients that we have that have been with us for years and years. And it increased their average customer value a lot. They started ordering twice as many stickers just because it was so easy for them to ubiquitously and seamlessly go in and order within their whole entire corporation. And we have a lot of other sticker companies that are competitors, but very, very few of them actually still do really high quality weather guarded stickers. And that is all that we do. The only thing that we do is something you can put on the back of your car, and in 7 or 10 years, it is still going to be there. It's still going to look perfect. It's not going to have faded at all. The lamination is not going to have peeled at all. I had stickers on I have a G-Wagon, a 2005 G-Wagon that has 374,000 miles on it. They're all mine. I'm the original owner. And I just recently changed all the stickers on that G-Wagon and put new stickers on. But the older stickers that were on there had been on there since I bought the car in 2005. And they still looked good. Like, that's the level of quality of stickers we do. They can run through dishwashers. And so most people have moved to these way faster machines. So, and you see them on like all the Instagram ads where they run through really fast and they go and they dart down these lasers and they cut the stickers super, super fast. But the problem is that the actual quality of the material that you run through a machine like that, it's not made to stand up for so long. So a lot of times when we would lose clients to other companies, they would be really unhappy depending on which company they went to, because there's only like 2 other competitors that still make those really nice, really high quality gloss and laminate heavy duty outdoor weather guarded stickers. And so that was probably the only reason we stayed in business, was because most people didn't have as good of a quality as us. And so I knew that I would be able to sort of claw back some of my clients that we had lost because they probably went somewhere where the quality wasn't quite as good. So that was the new goal. And these customized back pages were the way that I was going to do it. And that was all going to be on the new platform. And I thought I was going to be able to fully launch that finally in the middle of March. But I found out that we couldn't place reorders on there. So then I made a decision, because at first we were only doing these private customized back pages for our biggest clients, for like our top 10% clients who are bringing us 80% of our revenue, because they are time consuming to create individually for each client. And then I just made an executive decision and I was like, that's it. We're doing customized back pages for everyone. And we're figuring out a reorder process for sure. But the reorder process with us actually is customized back pages, which is so cool, because it's really neat and you can pass it to every single person in your organization. The bigger the organization, the more important that is. So if somebody has like a really big college or a really big beer company or soft drink company or any type of huge corporation where they have like, 2,000, 3,000, 20,000 employees, and you can just shoot them out a page where they can just all go order anything they need without it getting caught in the corporate offices for artwork approval, that is a humongous advantage. So that's how we solved that problem. Except for that, even then, the people at that company who have been so late on the product and so inefficient and so fucking terrible in every way with product delivery, they were like, no, we're done. We have finished the scope of work. And I was like, you are out of your fucking minds. I don't have a functional website right now. So I call the CEO again. He's like, no, I'm really sorry. Of course, they need to be able to reorder. We'll finish this thing. I'm so sorry that everybody fell down on you. And I'm like, okay, at this point, we're 60 days late. And I'm losing $1,500 a day. And I keep hearing, oh, it's going to be done, in a week. It's going to be done by the end of this week. It's going to be done in 2 weeks. It's going to be done so fast. But what was apparent was it didn't actually take very long to solve any of these problems. It took a long time for them to begin to work on them at all. So I was told, no, there's no way, it's really hard and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So finally, I called one of the developers who was the nicest guy on the team, who was like contract employee, did not work for this company, had been hired onto this project, and just said to him, hey, look, it's overseas, so $500 is a lot to him. And quite frankly, it was a lot to me because I was at the end of my rope. I had continued to hemorrhage cash every single day because the website wasn't working properly and it was dropping out the addresses. And it was just a mess. And we didn't want to do any marketing campaigns to the old website because the old website looked so old, because it was old, and the addresses kept not working. We kept holding back some of the marketing campaigns until the new website came up because it kept being that game of like, no this week, no this week. So I laid down the law with the CEO of that company, who is a really good guy. He's a really, really good guy. And he just thought that one of his business partners was managing this properly and could manage this properly and just did not. And finally, I called one of the contract developers who didn't have anything to do with this company and said, hey, this is what I need. This is all I need. I just need a link to show up in any way whatsoever on the customer's account page when they log in so that they can click that link and go to their own private customized back page, because that way we can just throw that link in there for them. And that is how they will reorder. And it is the coolest reorder functionality of any sticker company. So it's already going to put me ahead of my competitors. And like, now that they see this on the podcast, I will be copied from all these different sticker companies. But hopefully I'll be able to run fast enough. And quite frankly, stickers are a multiple billion-dollar industry. Nobody talks about that, but they are. Every company that you know, like I would say 60 to 70% of the types of businesses that exist in the United States market in some way with stickers. They want stickers of their logo. Everyone that has an Etsy store, all the different artists want stickers of their stuff, bands, any type of company, but most especially the cooler companies advertise really a lot with stickers. Anybody that's going to a beer fest or a weed show or a clothing expo, everybody's marketing with stickers. Anyone that has a destination resort town. I live part-time in Sedona, Arizona, and part-time in Boulder, Colorado. And those are both towns that people come to, or there's national parks close by and they want a sticker from wherever they went. There's so many use applications for stickers. And that doesn't even touch like government contracts for stickers, which are massive. So we're digging in and we're going to get all of these new sales and new orders. But now that we've decided that this is going to be how we get people to reorder, we start furiously making these back pages as fast as we can, but we can't communicate to the client within their page, hey, just drop this link. And we're like, please, 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 please get this fucking link up into the back page some way, somehow. And the guys at the company I contracted with just kept refusing to do it. So I called this developer and was like, look, this is all I need. I just need this link on this back page. Do you think that you can figure out how to get a link on this back page? I will give you $500 if you do it. I will give you $250 right now, and I will give you $250 as soon as it's delivered. That's another really great way just to negotiate when you're in a hard place, is if somebody is just consistently giving you a no and you do not have time to wait for them, just talk to whoever is going to give you a yes. So in this particular case, that was one of the developers who just would make money on the side. Plus, he felt legitimately really good, like helping me out to get that done. So that's what happened there. Last thing that happened in Q2 of 2024 was that I put out an ad on Indeed and I was like, hire fast, fire fast. I hired 5 employees because I needed to stuff all those flyers, because we had switched things around actually. And for those of you listening on Spotify or on Amazon or wherever it is that you are getting your podcasts from, I do share pictures in the YouTube video of the podcast. But when we started going through, and I signed off on our contracts with each other, and they're very fun, very easygoing to vest into the companies. We started to redo the website. I'm still pulling all those cards. And we came up with a whole bunch of reasons that we needed an employee. So I knew at this point, the IRS is behind me and we're getting the website built, but this is still in January. And I'm like, okay, we're hiring new employees. So I set out an ad in Indeed, and I didn't have a lot of cash because so much of that money that I had borrowed on the loan had gone to pay off this IRS debt. So I was really in a very pinched position where I was still losing money every day. So I didn't want to overpromise on the salaries. And StickerJunkie is based in California. It's based in San Diego. And like minimum wage at McDonald's is $20 an hour in San Diego. So that is a lot. And I did not have a lot of money. And I needed a lot of people because we were going to teach a bunch of people production. Plus, I knew that not everybody would make it. I needed people that were fast. I needed people that were good. And I did think that my idea to do flyers, to do local San Diego's flyers, would work. We offered a 25% discount for new customers, and I just thought we can at least grab local audience because we have cool marketing, everything looks cool, we have the highest quality of stickers. And I think that if people get them in their hands, they're going to really like them. And in fact, the San Diego mailing campaigns did work better than any of the other mailing campaigns, but they still did not do fantastic. But we did end up getting some really big clients. We got some big agency clients who were white labeling with us. That's where either a screen printer or an advertising agency or someone that works with clients will buy stickers from a big sticker manufacturer like us, but it will appear to the client as if they themselves had printed the stickers or sourced the stickers from somewhere. So they're sort of a middleman for the purchase of stickers. We do a lot of that in StickerJunkie, and we needed clients like that because we needed people that would send us orders every day. And those types of clients, especially bigger agencies, they do send orders almost every day. So it's a very like bread and butter, keep the lights on kind of a business. They always get a discount. When they order that way, they get a 15% discount. So it's really hard on us. We actually stripped that back as the company started doing better because we don't have huge margins and we have to keep our pricing really competitive. And there's a lot of competition out there. And when people are looking at pricing, they don't understand the difference in the quality of stickers. So our stickers are way more time consuming to produce, and they are way more expensive to produce, way more expensive. However, they're also way better. And so we still make them that way. And when people are price comparing, they don't realize that. So we do still keep our pricing really competitive. But that meant we just didn't have a lot of wiggle room. So I placed this ad, and it was just a really well-written ad. And I said, look, it's paying $18 an hour. Like, I get it that that's less than McDonald's. And you will get a raise at 3 months. And then I would explain to people who were applying for the job what we were doing, that this was going to become a TV show, that there was already a book deal in the works, that this was going to end up being a podcast, that I was going to tell the whole story of this 7-year journey. And if they wanted to be in on the journey, this is what it would be. If you were an employee, you would have to sign off on a name and likeness release, that you were going to know that you were going to be on camera, but it would be your choice. If you want to actually interview for something, if you actually want to be part of the show, or if you just might get caught in the background, like shipping stickers. And so as person after person after person would apply to these positions, we got some incredibly talented people applying where we were just like, what? How is this person applying with us right now? So one of the people who applied with us was Jenny Learmendares, who was head pastry chef at Split Bakehouse. I was like, what? This amazing vegan eatery in San Diego. And she herself was not vegan, but she worked at this amazing bakery. And she also was a tattoo artist who was apprenticing to become a full-fledged tattoo artist, which she now is, concurrently with working for us. She has lived 100 lives. She's so talented. She's amazing. She was literally the very first person that we hired. Jenny Armendares at Les Artistes is her Instagram. And when she came in, Brianna and I couldn't believe our luck. We kept passing back and forth her resume and looking up all of the stuff that she had done. And we were like, who is this person? Because girl, if you can run a kitchen, you can run a sticker office. Give me a break. I have so many friends that are such talented chefs. I'm friends with Haru and Goye Kishi and Mihai Moser and Michael Hebb and Jesse Barber and so many fucking badass, talented chefs. And so I've seen the inside of some of their kitchens, and it is like, even Jesse Barber is such a great guy, and he had an open kitchen format in one of his restaurants that I used to go to all the time, Barnyard. And so I could see the way that he was interacting with his staff, and it was fun, and it was a great vibe. And he had like right on the menu, send $10 to the buy around for the kitchen. And while they clearly were having fun and it clearly was a good time in there, that is hard work. And you could see them working while you were eating your meal. It was so cool. So I just knew immediately when I hired her that she would end up becoming our office manager, which she had. Literally, I don't have enough good words. We could not believe our luck. We could not believe that she was available and that she was willing to come in for $18 an hour. And we hired several other people. Some of them went out quite quickly. Some of them we loved and adored, and it just, their life went a different way. And we also, on that very first ad, hired one of the most talented commercial artists that I have ever seen. Now, because when I used to do Hot Topic sales previously, I've worked with so many hundreds of artists over the years, and with Minecraft, hundreds of artists over the years, and a lot of them have fantastic artwork. This is Carly from Trad Sticky Design. You probably have seen Trad Sticky all over the StickerJunkie media, and her artwork is so good, and it's so commercial. It's just so ridiculously good. And she also just is this amazing person. And she's showing us all of her portfolio. She just sent over like a link to her portfolio. And I saw it when she applied. And I was like, how is this happening? And she walked into the office on that first day, and she owns her own sticker company, and she's coming to apply for a sticker company. She didn't know me. She doesn't know who I am. And she didn't know what she was walking into. And she basically was just like, yeah, I just was like, this is weird that there's a woman-owned sticker company here in San Diego that I didn't know about. And I've been selling stickers forever, and I just thought I would send something over. It was weird even in the way that she saw the ad in the first place. I immediately started saying, well, actually, it's not just StickerJunkie. There's this second company, Delinquent Distribution, and I explained to her the backstory. I explained to her what I was doing, and I said, I love your designs. And I think that your designs might really go well in Hot Topic. And I have been working with them again to get all of the StickerJunkie designs and Delinquent designs back into Hot Topic. So we hire her, and on her very, very first day working there, Carly came into my office. Oh, that's the wrong screen. And said, I think that we should go over to Hot Topic and just like see what's in their store right now. And I think we should just go over there and see. And I was like, okay, cool. That's a really good idea. Let's do that. So we get into my truck and drive over to Hot Topic on the first day that she's working there. We walk into the store. We check out their sticker section. This is January 30th. This is her first day. And she immediately says, I can do this. Like, I have ideas for exactly what I think that we should be selling. So I gave her a bunch of the slogans that I had done for Anti-Establishment, one of my other clothing companies, and Delinquent in the past. And then she put all these cute cartoon designs around them. But then she came up with a whole catalog, like, quickly. Like, this is February 16th. So this is 2 weeks later. And this whole entire catalog she just did in like 2 weeks that I was then going to be able to take over to Hot Topic and to pitch them on all of these sticker designs. Now, at this point, I have been talking to Hot Topic for like over a year. And she's doing really cute, like, StickerJunkie promo stickers. And they keep saying, yes, we're going to test, but they actually hadn't tested them yet. So at this point, I'm like, okay, let me have an official meeting with the buyers. Let me put together an official catalog and take it to headquarters and show it off to everybody. And Carly created that. She created stickers about stuff I love, like true crime. I love the Morbid podcast so much. And one night I called her up and said, hey, I've been having this dream about ravens. And then a raven actually really did bring me a pine cone one day after I kept telling them they were pretty when they were eating pine cones. I told her that at like 5 a.m. We were texting each other because we're both early birds. And then like less than an hour later, she sent me a sticker that said, I put the raven. And I was like, can you just make a sticker about ravens? So talented. And she took some feedback from Hot Topic and created an emotional support water bottle sticker and some very cool, like a little guillotine sticker that says, keep your chin up, and so many cute stickers. And after almost a year of not buying stuff, they finally bought some stuff on t-shirts, but they still were not buying stickers yet from us. So all of a sudden, Brianna and I have the ability to sort of throw just gas on the fire. We have this very, very talented artist, and Jenny herself also is a very, very, very talented artist. And we're coming up with all of these cute designs. Like you can see from the Trad Sticky Instagram, if you guys go check that out, her designs are just road trip ready to sell in stores. And we're sending out thousands of flyers all across San Diego. And yet we're building and we're just not quite seeing the results yet, but we know that they're coming. We know that stuff is going to start. However, compliance thing after compliance thing continues to come up. And as we start to increase our orders, even just a little bit, even just by a few $100s a day, I can see that our production isn't where it needs to be. Our turnaround time on our proofs isn't where it needs to be. And that there's still just so much more internal work to do. The first 3 months was exhausting. It was truly just working all day, every day. For those of you who are listening on Spotify or Amazon Music, I do share pictures on YouTube, a version of this, and they just kind of walk you through everything that's happening. In the beginning of this, Mark Cuban said a really interesting thing on Trevor Noah's podcast. He said that being a billionaire is just lucky and that anybody who says that they can do it again is lying. Then he said one caveat, except for those people that know how to compound money, that know how to trade, the people that have hedge funds and nobody knows who they are. So as you watch me on this journey, am I going to fall on my face a lot? Yes. Do I know how to trade and compound money? Also, yes. So I cannot wait to get to that part of the trading, but I'm just doing an intense amount of organization. I get to go back to Sedona a little bit during this first quarter. We get the office more in order. We get huge whiteboards everywhere. Brianna and I are having an amazing time. She builds out super cute office for herself. We experimented with a little camp shower, did not work out well. And she starts focusing also on Stay Happy a little bit more. We start taking better photography for the website. That's an ongoing process. We get our very first t-shirts into Hot Topic. So we start selling them some of the old t-shirts that I have from a company I owned called Anti-Establishment Clothing and Delinquent Distribution. These t-shirts, like I Quit the Band, Now I Just Play With Myself, which was on A Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie back in the early 2000s. They did this Hot Topic makeover, and that was the t-shirt that they chose. And I used to have superhuman powers, but my therapist took them away. That is the t-shirt that bought my original very first house is a different house than this house that I ever owned. And they also bought I Heart Tattooed Boys and I Heart Tattoo Girls and a couple of other things. And I just continued the journey. I kept going to Fort Rosecrans. We set up an incredibly cute snack area in the StickerJunkie offices. We started pitching Hot Topic again. We got the San Diego flyers done and went out to stores. I would drink wine sometimes at the office in San Diego. And things just really started to move forward. There was like week on week growth in the office. Brianna and I kept having a wonderful time. We kept getting great new clients. Carly with Trad Sticky kept doing the cutest artwork for our new clients. And then I went to Hot Topic and presented to the buyers. Whenever you go and present in a big meeting, always bring something with you. I am known as the cookie girl within Hot Topic. And guess what? When I ask for an all buyer meeting, even people that don't buy in the categories I sell in come to my meetings because I always bring amazing snack trays that I create. And every time I walk into a company like Hot Topic, it never fails to like knock me over because I get there and there's all these people who also have been selling for like 20 years to Hot Topic. And they don't have something like this with them. And I'm like, yo, you guys, like, what are you doing? Bring something for your buyers. So when I show up on this meeting, finally on February 28th, it had taken months to like get everything together to get it properly over there. And I just went in ready, guns a-blazing. And sure enough, they did start buying t-shirts again from us. And then we just needed to sell them stickers, which didn't happen until the following quarter. And we're about to leave you here for this tale. Coming up next will be Q2 of 2024. And thank you everyone who's sharing the journey with us. As soon as it's me going to hot yoga so I can take a shower, going to Fort Rosecrans to cry and meditate, and getting the new website built and starting to see hope again and getting very, very cool designs done, beginning to see what is it like to have employees again? What is it like to run a company again? What is it like to dream again? Because the thing is, I hadn't been dreaming very much when I was just retired in Sedona. And I started to just really wake up into my life again. I started to remember what it's like to run a team. I started to just kind of come back into my own. I still made time to come back to Sedona and drink wine a long weekend a month and just escape. And I didn't relax. I worked the whole time I was here. I've been working all day, every day. But I took a minute and I took a breath and I would wait for guidance for the next point. So that's why I'm going to leave you today on episode 2. That was quarter 1 of 2024. On the next episode, we'll cover quarter 2 of 2024. That episode was called Time to Rebuild. The next episode, episode 3 of Andrea Lake 101, is going to be called It's Really Fun, but Nothing is Working. And that pretty much sums up quarter 2. Thank you for joining me on this real-time journey of rebuilding these companies. You will be after the first 4 episodes, which is going to cover a different quarter for each episode. Then every single week on Tuesdays, we will release an episode that is week on week. What's happened in the company? What's the growth? What are the numbers? I'm very transparently sharing what the financials are of the companies to show you how do you grow? How do you build? How do you scale? If you do all of a sudden get 6 times as many orders, how do you keep up with scale? Scale like that can destroy a company. You see it time and time and time again from contestants on Shark Tank, where all of a sudden they're getting next their normal sales and they cannot keep up with that capacity. It's very hard to scale quickly, especially if you haven't done it before. And I'm just going to take you on the journey. What's going to happen is we're going to end up hiring in camera crews that come in and follow the whole journey with it slowly. So piece by piece, this will sort of morph from being a podcast to then being more of like almost a real true, actually, I'm not going to edit out all of the embarrassing shit reality show. So some of you may know that I was on a reality show. I was on The Apprentice when I was a child, when I was 32 years old, which is, Jesus, 18 years ago. Wow. That's a reality check. And I was like this much famous, except for there was nothing else back then. There wasn't like a million YouTube channels. There weren't content creators. None of social media existed in the same way that it does now. And so if you were on a show like The Apprentice back then, you actually were quite famous overnight. And I did not like that. When I was in my early 30s, I was like, that is a no for me. I am going to remember what my mentor always told me, which was the best thing that money can buy is privacy. And I just receded from public life after that. And when all of this came down, I was like, you know what I'm going to do is just like fucking fuck this. I've had so many of my friends over the years say, Andrea, why are you not telling your story as loudly as you can for these young women that are coming up who are like you were when you were 16, 17, 18, starting your first company, who are like you were when they're 20, 23, starting their first big company, who are like you were when you had to rebuild your life when you were 34, or when you have to rebuild your life now when you're 50. Like, how do you do that? So I wanted to let everybody in on seeing how I actually do that. And my entire intention with this is just to be transparent with the journey, to share it as it really is, happening in real time. And one of the biggest things when we talk about negotiating from the bottom, which we're going to talk about a lot in the next episode, is just being honest and telling people what the story is, because everybody wants to be the part of a really good story. So when I am honest with these employees that were coming in, that were trying out for these jobs, that were $18 an hour, I would say, I'm going to very quickly get you to a proper salary. Please tell me. I would individually ask each one of them, please tell me what salary it is that you would want. I have two segments here. I said this straight from the beginning. There is the core team and there is the support team. And the core team will be getting increased raises at a very fast clip. So will the support team, but the core team more so, because those are people who are used to being in management positions at different companies or used to being a lead in some way at a company. And they are really, really going to help us scale quickly, because those are the type of people I need. And if I can put together the right team, I am going to get there so fast. Because if you multiply the amount of energy and effort and ambition and drive and necessity that Brianna and I have, and add on 2 more people who feel that same level of intensity, or 10 more people, or 100 more people, you're just going to get to where you're going so fucking much faster. And so I promised them this. I say, you get a raise at 3 months, and then every quarter I am reassessing salaries until everyone in my company is up to a proper salary. And then I followed through on that, and I really do reassess salaries all of the time until everybody is up at a proper salary. Our current salary is $25 an hour for our core team, which is still not a lot. That is not a living wage. I am profoundly aware of that. But everybody that is with me on this ride understands my own personal ethos in business, which is give me your best and I will give you my best. And I am not getting rich alone. That is no fun. So when I hire people into my company, I give every single one of them the same speech. I got it from the Marine Corps, from the US military. It might be the Army. No, it is the Marine Corps. That says something to the effect of this. I'm paraphrasing, but this is how I put it in job interviews. Don't be good. Don't be great. Your job is to become irreplaceable to me. I run too far and fast, and not everybody wants to play at that high of a capacity every day, and I totally understand that. But I need to find the people on my team who do. I need to find the people on my team who want to run, who want to sprint, who want to get us where we're going, and we all win as we move along. As we hit these metrics that we're reaching for, as we grab these sales goals that we're reaching for, like, your salary is being reassessed too. But not only that, we have this bigger vision that we're in for. Some of the people on staff are really private. Some of the people on staff, like Jenny, is like, cool, I'll be on the TV show. That sounds great. Oh, do you need to shoot a reel? Here I am. Some of them didn't think that they would want to be public, and then it's been really fun for them, like Brianna. So every person on my team is not just good. They are not just great. They conduct themselves at a high level of excellence, which is how I conduct myself with my employees. And in return, I make a dedication to them that I want to create the best workplace that they could possibly imagine, that I'm reaching for gold star standards of benefits, of pay, of every single way, of lifestyle integration, of sick and maternity leave, of all these things that we absolutely still cannot afford in the company. But it's why we're clawing so quickly to get into that range where the company is making millions of dollars. Because everybody out there that would leave, that maybe would be keyboard warriors, like, how the fuck do you have people working for you for $18 an hour? I'm like, I know. I was embarrassed to tell people that that's all I could pay them, but that's truly all that I could pay them. And a lot of people who are writing like comments about even it being at 25 an hour, which is not, it needs to be more, are not maybe understanding that they also are the ones who are the first to buy, 1,000 stickers for $89. Well, those two things don't go together. You're not going to get the highest quality. You can get cheap, and you can get fast, and you can get good. and we are fast, and we are really, really good. And I don't want to own the companies that are the cheapest. I want to own the companies that are the best. And I want to own the companies that can afford to pay their clients really well. And I want to own, or their employees, I mean to say. And I want to own the companies where I still am competitively priced, because I still am competitively priced, but I prioritize putting my employees first. I have a segmentation budget that is just for payroll. And as the company increases and scales, anything that's extra in there goes to bonuses and amazing benefits for my employees, period. I don't ever just extract more of the profits for myself. So there's a true win for everyone on my team, for us all to make this great company. I will never be the CEO that takes, 10 million times or 10,000 times my lowest paid employee. As a no for me. It is okay if some people run their businesses that way, like, hey, look, everybody, you do you. But I was going to say I like to create, but I only create win-win-win situations in business. I win, my employees win, my clients win, their clients win, because life is really short, and we spend a lot of time in our life creating businesses, at work, working for companies, and it better be fun. If anybody is giving up 30 or 40 or even 50 or 60 hours of their life to a company, or like Brianna and I are doing right now, 100 hours a week or 90 hours a week or 110, it has to be fun along the way too. You have to make sure that it is. And I'm excited to see how this journey goes. I'm going to let you watch it when I fucking fall flat on my face. I'm not going to hide that. You're going to see me. I say to some of my friends who are very, very famous influencers who have very, very polished appearances, like, dude, you cry on the floor. I know you. I know you. So I know you do. But your audience on Instagram, they don't know that about you. Like, let them see you. Let them see who you are. So when I came out with a station, I'm like, you just get to see who I am. When I am having a bad day, you will know. And when I am elated, you will know. And when I am disappointed, you will know. So I hope that you stay tuned. I hope that you follow this journey. Follow me on Andrea Lake 101 on Instagram.com. That's where I'll be doing releases, and across all platforms, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere. I am Andrea Lake 101. And I will see you next week.